Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 9th overall spot. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys an inside look into my thought process as I'm doing a 2021 fantasy football draft. But before we get on into it, I'd like to let you guys know that this show is being brought to you by our brand new podcast, Betting You. Who will win the Heisman this year? Can Georgia dethrone Alabama? Which MAC team should you be putting your money on? All of these questions and more are answered every single Wednesday with Matt Kajowski and Ben Rotza as they talk all things college football betting. We have episodes available now on nearly every single podcast platform, including Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So go ahead and check them out today. But without further ado, let's get into it. Also, make sure if you enjoyed today's video to please hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content, and the other people on this channel, all the other fellows, put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. Make sure you hit that like button down below as well to help boost this video up the algorithm so more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. So the first pick of the draft was Christian McCaffrey, followed by Dalvin Cook. That is going to happen basically every single time in drafts. If it's someone other than Christian McCaffrey at the number 1 spot, if it's someone other than Dalvin Cook at the number 2 overall spot, it is a very big oddity, in my opinion. At number 3, that's when the door really starts to go wide open. It could be Saquon, could be Derrick Henry, could be Travis Kelce on ESPN because Travis Kelce is ranked so high, which is one of those things that I really like to preach, that if you guys are doing mock drafts, to please be mock drafting on the website that you are going to be drafting on, because it gives you a much better idea into where players are going to go. Because on Yahoo, on NFL, on CBS, these other websites, Travis Kelce goes either in the back of the first round or inside the second round. Whereas on ESPN, basically every single time, Travis Kelce is like a top 8 pick, which is very odd compared to the other websites, but that's because of how the average draft position is laid out on your screen. If Travis Kelce's sitting there at number 4, you're like, oh man, if I want to get Travis Kelce, now I have to pick him right here. He's not going to fall back. It just changes people's minds. So make sure that you guys are looking to draft on the website you are actually going to be drafting on to do your mock draft. So after we went ahead and saw Alvin Kamara come off the board, we saw Derrick Henry followed by Davante Adams. Davante Adams is now going to be a first-round pick in every single draft. He will likely be the wide receiver 1 off the board in many drafts because with Aaron Rodgers there, Davante Adams is genuinely probably going to finish as the wide receiver number 1 and has that wide receiver number 1 potential. But we're sitting here at pick number 9, and Travis Kelce did fall to us, and this is the spot in the draft around pick 8 where I'm comfortable drafting Travis Kelce. With the unknowns of Jonathan Taylor right now, with Carson Wentz being hurt, potentially missing 9 games of the season, there is no way I'm going to be drafting Jonathan Taylor. Davante Adams is gone, so I'm going to get that strong positional advantage and draft Travis Kelce inside of the first round. In years past, I was all about fading tight end until later on in the draft, but what we have seen is so much consistency from Travis Kelce, and he is just that upper echelon tight end. The only other tight end I can actually see competing with Travis Kelce at the end of the season would be Darren Waller to potentially become the number 1 guy because of the strict amount of fucking volume that this guy gets week in and week out. But Travis Kelce, he's on the best offense in the National Football League. Oh, Nick, the Chiefs aren't the best offense. Okay, then what are they? Top 3 probably in your mind. So yeah, they're a top 3 offense in the NFL. Travis Kelce catches everything thrown his way. He's a huge red zone threat for this Kansas City Chiefs offense with the best quarterback in the NFL. I am very excited to have Travis Kelce on my team at a position that really does fall off. After like the top 5, it is a complete and utter dart throw on who you draft, and if that ends up landing and hitting and you get a top 10 tight end, it's very hard to find a tight end that's going to put up potentially 15 points a game like Travis Kelce does later on in the draft. So after we got Travis Kelce, Nick Chubb came off the board, followed by Stephon Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, and Tyreek Hill. So looking at the board here when we are back up, I'm definitely looking to get a running back if I like the value. If not, I'll go wide receiver. A good rule of thumb of mine is in the first 3 rounds, I'm looking to get 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds because I believe after round 3, the running back position just gets so dicey where it's really a guessing game. Now, it's not necessarily a guessing game, it's an educated guessing game, but it's gets a little more dicey, whereas up here, I feel a lot more confident in the running backs. Looking at the board here at the running back position, Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders. In this range, Antonio Gibson is going to be my guy. Looking at the reports from camp, all things are pointing towards Antonio Gibson being perfectly healthy for week number 1. I know there was some worries about his foot injury, that could really hamper him, but Ron Rivera came out today, I believe, and said that, hey, Gibson's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. He's rehabbing correctly. He's going to be completely fine. And that is music to my ears as someone who believes that Antonio Gibson is going to take that next step up in his sophomore year as the lead back in Washington with a much better quarterback under center. Now, I'm not sitting here slandering the good name of Alex Smith or something, but if I'm being honest with you, it was Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke. Ryan Fitzpatrick is much better than those players, at least in my opinion. So looking at the draft board before we went ahead and got Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones came off the board. After we went with Antonio Gibson came J.K. Dobbins. Aaron Jones, to me, is going to be a locked and loaded first-round pick by the time you are having your real drafts in late August or early September. That just appears how it's going to be because, to me, Aaron Jones, with Aaron Rodgers healthy, has top 5 running back potential. This guy is a touchdown monster. Me and Lofty spoke about this in a live stream, I believe, last week on this channel about how Aaron Rodgers, sure, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He likes to throw the ball to Devontae Adams a lot. But in the red zone still, Aaron Jones finds a way to score. And we both kind of agree on the same thing that, hey, A.J. Dillon, not really the guy that's going to take away a lot of touches from Aaron Jones. Sure, he is going to be involved, but he's not going to be taking away any pass-catching work, in my opinion, from Aaron Jones because he's not a great pass catcher, and Aaron Jones is. I don't think he's really going to take that much goal line work away from Aaron Jones. I think A.J. Dillon is a perfectly fine handcuff. He's a great fucking handcuff because if Aaron Jones was to go down, knock on wood, then A.J. Dillon can cement himself as a top 10 back week in and week out because of this Green Bay Packers offense and because if they commit to the run with a running back like A.J. Dillon, he will be successful. We saw him succeed last season, especially in that one game up against the Tennessee Titans when obviously they were just beating them down in the snow. There was no chance that the Titans were to come back, so they brought in A.J. Dillon and he balled out. So I could see that happening, but without an injury to Aaron Jones or without a complete and utter meltdown from the other defense where the Packers are just stomping them, I don't really see a way that A.J. Dillon is all that fantasy relevant without an injury, which makes me very confident in on Aaron Jones this season. After Jones came Joe Mixon, Antonio Gibson was our pick, and then J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris, Myles Gaskin, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, D.K. Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. After Clyde Edwards-Helaire begins the third round with David Montgomery and Chris Carson. Very interesting to see the average draft position increase on ESPN of David Montgomery. He was a guy that I figured would really be a 4th round pick, but I think a lot more people are cluing in on the fact that Tariq Cohen is injured and could be missing some serious time on the season. That's really going to open up the door for David Montgomery. Chris Carson, another one of those running backs that I am very keen on inside of the 3rd round, potential top 12 running back out of Seattle, and it's not really because Russell Wilson's a bad quarterback or something. It's because Pete Carroll continues to advocate. At the end of last season, he was talking about how they need to run the ball more. In press conferences now, he's talking about running the ball more. They call Russell Wilson Mr. Unlimited, but in reality, he's Mr. Limited because Pete Carroll chews his fucking gum, chomps on that, and limits the upside of Mr. Unlimited. He doesn't let them throw, so they're going to run the ball a lot, and Chris Carson is a great running back, and you better believe that he has a lot of value in this offense. I understand that there is some injury risk with Chris Carson. He has gotten hurt a little bit, but he's not a guy that you expect to be injury prone, at least in my opinion, so I think Chris Carson should be good to go this season. A very big target of mine inside of the 3rd round. After Chris Carson came Allen Robinson, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, and then Keenan Allen. DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders are running backs that I'm not too keen on this season. Miles Sanders because I don't know what's going to be happening in Philadelphia this year, and I don't really know if Miles Sanders is that etch above those other running backs. It seems like he's always been kind of screwed over by the other running backs there. Maybe he's given the full workload with Nick Sirianni as the head coach, and maybe that's better. But I don't know. I don't know about Miles Sanders. A.J. Brown and Darren Waller came off the board after that. Love the value of Darren Waller inside of the third round. As like I was saying earlier, I genuinely believe he could finish above Travis Kelce. But looking at the board right now, we have a tight end. We have a running back. If there are any running backs available that I like, I'm willing to take them here. But not really. Not really. Unless the Rams do give the keys completely to Darrell Henderson. And that's what we're going to assume here. If the Rams bring in another running back, if the Rams bring in a Le'Veon Bell, a Todd Gurley, that pick was atrocious. Do not do that if they bring in a Todd Gurley, a Le'Veon Bell. But if they don't, which seems like maybe they're actually going to stick with the plan of Darrell Henderson with the injury of Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson as the workhorse back in LA for the Rams with a good defense who should be able to run the ball late in the game, I really like Darrell Henderson, and we have seen him at the NFL level put up some pretty solid numbers, so I do think Darrell Henderson is worth a third or fourth round pick, but right now, just temper your expectations a little because something could happen big in free agency or in the waiver wire where they just bring someone in, and then you have to backtrack on that statement. But right now, based upon what we know, based upon how the team is laid out, I really like Darrell Henderson going at the end of the third round. After I went ahead and drafted Darrell Henderson came Mike Davis, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods, and George Kittle. Now, Mike Davis, to me, is an insta-lock inside of the fifth round, but on ESPN, which is something I noted earlier, the ADP is kind of fucked up. Mike Davis goes in like the seventh round. He is a fifth round talent in fantasy football, but goes so much later because of where he's positioned on the screen. So make sure that you guys are checking that out before you do your drafts. Make sure to do the mocks on the website. So looking at the board here, I love Deontay Johnson, but at the wide receiver position, to me, there's a clear answer here, and it is CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys. So many videos are coming out of Cowboys training camp of CeeDee Lamb just looking like the true alpha wide receiver there. I would personally draft Amari Cooper ahead of him, and I believe that is how this draft went down, but don't be surprised if by late August, CeeDee Lamb is the number one guy there getting drafted. CeeDee Lamb is going to be a player I continue to talk up because it appears Dak Prescott's going to be healthy. Obviously, he got banged up in training camp, but if he's going to be healthy, CeeDee Lamb did big things last year with the shitty quarterbacks. Imagine what he can do with a real quarterback like Dak Prescott when he's Dak Prescott, not, Andy Dalton or Ben DiNucci or Gilbert, whatever that guy's name was. So yeah, I really do believe in CeeDee Lamb this year, especially since he did that in the COVID offseason when everything's all messed up. Now he's having a true training camp, true preseason. There's a lot of signs pointing toward an excellent year for CeeDee Lamb in 2021. After CeeDee Lamb came Adam Thielen, Josh Jacobs, Chase Edmonds, Chris Godwin, Kyle Pitts, Travis Etienne, Kareem Hunt, and Deontay Johnson. So we are a couple of picks away here. If you guys have ended up enjoying thus far through this video, please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, we're putting out content every single day. Me, plus the other guys here on the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel, put out content every day. So please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button if you have enjoyed thus far. So looking at the board after Kyle Pitts came Travis Etienne, Kareem Hunt, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, and Tyler Lockett. Travis Etienne, to me, is the biggest waste of a fourth round pick, and he is going to go there all the time. I understand, Nick, they have that connection there. They drafted Lawrence. They drafted Etienne because they both went to Clemson. But James Robinson is still there. And unless Urban Meyer just completely takes James Robinson, throws him out of this offense, then Etienne is going to be severely held down by James Robinson. So I'm not all sold in on Travis Etienne. I think a lot of people are going to kind of pull the trigger a little too early. And in my opinion, it's just not worth a fourth round pick. It just really isn't. After Travis Etienne, I'd much rather have Kareem Hunt, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore. I'd much rather have, let's look at the running backs available right now because this is going to be funny. I'd much prefer Mike Davis. Mike Davis's picture on here just looks hilarious because his head looks so small. I would much prefer Damian Harris. I'd much prefer Mike Davis. Myles Gaskin's not available. I would much prefer him as well. I think that is a very weird zone of running backs with Williams, with Etienne. It's kind of a dead zone in my opinion because I think both of those rookie running backs have really good futures ahead of them. But in 2021, where you're drafting your fantasy football drafts for this season, I don't see too much upside unless there is an injury. Now, today I wrote an article about Kyle Pitts on Awesemo.com. If you guys want to read that, check it out. I talked about how I don't like Kyle Pitts because I think Kyle Pitts is getting overdrafted, and in the last 10 years, only one tight end has finished in the top 5 their rookie season. His name is Evan Ingram. I just don't see it. I mean, Kyle Pitts is an elite talent. I agree. He's an excellent player. But is he going to be able to beat down those expectations and finish top 5? I'm not too sure. After Deontay Johnson, the 5th round began with Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore, Pat Mahomes, T. Higgins, Josh Allen, and Kenny Golladay. Pat Mahomes going in the 5th round. Now, in your at-home draft, don't be surprised if Pat Mahomes goes in the 2nd round, the 3rd round, the 4th round, because, if you're not super experienced with fantasy football, the quarterback's the most important position in the NFL. Nowhere near as important in fantasy football unless you're in a super flex league, but people's perception will be shifted by that, so they'll draft Mahomes a little bit earlier. After Mahomes, typically Josh Allen comes off the board, and then Kyler, Lamar, they go really fast because people start shitting themselves at the quarterback position. We got 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, and 1 tight end thus far. I'm going to select Mike Davis, and then we're probably going to hop off the running back position for a bit. I love Mike Davis. This guy is the true workhorse in Atlanta, and he is going inside of the 5th round. I understand the Atlanta Falcons have a shit-tier defense, so they're not going to be able to run the ball all game long, and that's okay because Mike Davis is a very talented pass-catching running back. We saw him fill the role perfectly in Carolina last season when Christian McCaffrey went down. Now, obviously, you could tell, right? Mike Davis isn't fucking Christian McCaffrey, but he filled the role pretty well to where it wasn't a complete beatdown of your team if you had Christian McCaffrey and then you played Mike Davis. So he did fill the role in that offense. In Atlanta, I think he fills the role perfectly. A lot of people last year were drafting Todd Gurley. I know you guys obviously wouldn't have seen content from me on this channel last year, but last year on my YouTube channel, I was banging the drum aggressively against Todd Gurley, but a lot of people were for Todd Gurley. You know what they're for? Upside of being the clear running back 1 on the Atlanta Falcons offense, which is what Mike Davis is at an even further discount. Gurley was like a 2nd, 3rd round pick last year. If my memory doesn't fail me, Davis is going in the 5th, 6th round. And I think Davis is a better running back, and Davis isn't injury prone. He doesn't have that knee arthritis like Todd Gurley. So I'm really all in on Mike Davis. I think the upside is immense here. And as my running back 3, as my flex, I feel like I'm sitting pretty with Antonio Gibson, Darrell Henderson, and Mike Davis. If you saw this roster like a few weeks ago, you'd think it was terrible because Darrell Henderson would have been useless, but with Cam Akers hurt, Darrell Henderson is in the perfect spot here to succeed. After Mike Davis came Javonte Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Mark Andrews, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and Lamar Jackson. 3 quarterbacks all in a row here. Like I'm saying, some people, they don't get their quarterback, and they see, oh, Josh Allen went, oh, Pat Mahomes went. Holy shit. If I don't draft a quarterback here, they're not going to come back. So 3 people in a row panic. I do advise waiting on quarterback. I'll talk about my late round quarterbacks that I like a little bit later. But now we are looking at the board right here, and I am going to be attempting to go wide receiver at this pick. Now, I'm going to be hunting for the most upside at this pick, and I genuinely believe the highest upside pick with Courtland Sutton being hurt is Ja'Marr Chase. Now, sure, I may be pulling the trigger a little early on Ja'Marr Chase, but when I'm looking for upside, I already have CeeDee Lamb. I believe CeeDee Lamb's safe. I believe my team so far is relatively safe. So I'm looking for genuine upside here in the 6th round that I believe Ja'Marr Chase possesses. I believe this Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to be throwing the ball so many times every single game because the defense is so fucking bad and the offensive line isn't the greatest. So I think they're going to have to be throwing the ball a lot. I think Joe Burrow is going to be slinging the pigskin at one of the highest rates in the National Football League, which will lead to fantasy points. And you want to know about Ja'Marr Chase? Obviously, you probably do know. You're watching a fantasy football video, you know about Ja'Marr Chase. His wide receiver number 1 at LSU, now reunited in Cincinnati. It's the perfect dream. Now, I understand it is a crowded wide receiver room. They have Tyler Boyd, they have T. Higgins, and now they have Ja'Marr Chase, but I believe this is going to be a trinity in the NFL that is great for fantasy football. To me, Ja'Marr Chase would be the best option. Maybe, though, because I do kind of like T. Higgins a little more than him, but T. Higgins was already taken off the board, so can't really do anything about that. I do think Ja'Marr Chase is a pretty solid pick inside of the 6th round. We saw a lot of wide receivers spark it up last season that were rookies, and I think we could see that again in 2021, especially in a scenario where the team is going to be super duper pass heavy, like in Cincinnati. After I went with Ja'Marr Chase came James Robinson, TJ Hawkinson, Courtland Sutton, Russell Wilson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham Jr., or Aaron Rodgers, and Michael Thomas. Interesting to see where Michael Thomas goes in drafts because we really have no clear timetable about when he is going to be back. It's kind of like Carson Wentz. They're saying 5 to 12 weeks. So that could be week 2 of the NFL season or week 9. What does that mean? We don't know right now. In August, we should have a better idea about Michael Thomas. We should have a better idea about Carson Wentz. And then I can really make a hot take. But right now, in the 7th round, I'm hunting for upside. I'm not really looking to draft Michael Thomas at this point. Now, I could, but it's a 12-team league. That's probably his wide receiver 2 or 3 that you may not have for the first month or month plus of the season. So to me, that is a little bit ambitious. After Michael Thomas came Robbie Anderson, Raheem Mostert, Laviska Shenault, Jerry Jeudy, Logan Thomas, Michael Carter, pretty ambitious there in the 7th round, Will Fuller, and Justin Herbert. So we're looking at the board here. We already have 3 running backs. We have 2 wide receivers. We have our tight end. We're not going to go quarterback here. So we're going to look running back or wide receiver at this spot. Looking at running back, to me, there is just a very distinct drop-off after this one running back, and that is Damian Harris. I know a lot of people don't like to draft running backs in New England because, hey, that is a team that uses running back by committee. They're going to use 7,000 running backs every single game, but all reports out of camp, all reports are that Damian Harris is the lead back on this team, and I understand he may be getting spelled his targets from James White, right? He's going to suck some of those away, but at the end of the day, if this Patriots team is much better, like I believe them to be, if the defense is much better, they're going to be able to run the ball a lot more in these games, and I like Damian Harris's upside as a 7th round pick. Now in the 8th round here, we already got a bunch of running backs. We have our tight end of the future here, not of the future, right? This is just a 1-year league, but I do love Travis Kelce this year, so we don't need another tight end, definitely not. So we're going to go wide receiver. Typically here, I would draft Devontae Smith, but he did get hurt in camp. I'm still going to draft him here, but be cautious. Be cautious because a couple of days, it may come out that it's more severe. Now, right now, it's just like a 2 to 3 week injury, which really isn't a big deal because we're so far away. Not really super far away, right? We're in August. We're in August. Kickoff, I believe, is September 9th. So we're not super far away, but we're also not super close where a 2 to 3 week injury is going to take you out for potential multiple weeks on the season. So monitor that. But I do believe Devontae Smith, I think Devontae Smith could outscore Ja'Marr Chase, if I'm being completely honest with you, and be the wide receiver 1. It's like polar opposite teams. Ja'Marr Chase is an elite wide receiver, amazing wide receiver. There's a reason he got drafted so highly, but he's in a crowded room. Devontae Smith, really good, won the Heisman. Sure, he's built like a fucking skeleton, and people are going to say that's why he got hurt. I'm not too sure about that. It's just kind of injury luck. You know, some people get hurt, some people don't. It could happen to anyone. But he's the clear one on that team, in my opinion. Who else are they going to throw the ball to? Jalen Reagor? He hasn't proved much. Are they going to throw it to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside? I don't know. So I'm very excited about the upside that comes with Devontae Smith potentially being the wide receiver 1 in Philadelphia. And if he's not right away, I believe he will become that very quick. But if the injury continues to linger, then I think Jalen Reagor is going to shoot up draft boards. And please do not do that. Please do not do that. Looking at the pick history, after we went ahead and selected Damian Harris, came Dallas Goedert, Brandon Cooks, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, Michael Gallup. Then we went with Devontae Smith, Cole Beasley, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, Jarvis Landry, Ryan Tannehill, Hollywood Brown, Antonio Brown, David Johnson, Noah Fant, Robert Tonyan, Bucks defense, Henry Ruggs, Janu Smith, and Corey Davis. Let me tell you something. If you don't believe in Henry Ruggs, which I'm kind of in that standpoint of, then John Brown to me is a must-draft wide receiver. That's all I'm saying, because if Henry Ruggs isn't the number 1 in targets, Darren Waller will be the number 1 in targets, but if he's not the number 2 Henry Ruggs on this team, then it's going to be John Brown. You better believe that. It's not Bryan Edwards. Don't let anyone chat some shit about Bryan Edwards being a sleeper or something. Man, oh man, you have to be off something or on something, I guess, to really believe that. I think that is an insane person take. So looking at the board here, you want to go ahead and try to draft more running backs than wide receivers on your roster. So we're going to snag a running back for the bench here and go with a guy with a decent amount of upside, and that's Ronald Jones. Now, most drafts, he's like a 7th round pick, but ESPN's ADP is really fucked up. It's really bad. So make sure you're taking advantage of that in your drafts because Ronald Jones should go much higher. Sure, this backfield is complicated. Every single week, Bruce Arians will go out after the game. He'll say, this is X's backfield. So this is going to be the week where you see a huge game out of Leonard Fournette next week. And then it's Ronald Jones week. He's just the king of lying to us. But if there was an injury on this team, one of these guys is going to tear it up. But if someone was to really take a stranglehold of this offense, I think the better bet is Ronald Jones. So looking at the board here, looking at the running backs, I don't really like any of these players. I do like Trey Sermon a lot, but looking at wide receiver here, T.Y. Hilton, McCole Hardman, Michael Pittman. This is kind of a dead range at wide receiver as well, but I think this is kind of a reach, but I'm willing to take him here. That is wide receiver Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears. Now, Darnell Mooney would have probably had an amazing 2020 campaign if the quarterback position there was any fucking good. This dude is wide open, and Nick Foles misses him. He's wide open, and Mitch Trubisky misses him. If there's a real quarterback there, which I believe Andy Dalton is a much more real quarterback than those guys, and I believe if Justin Fields is given the chance, then Darnell Mooney is going to have an excellent season. This is a guy who is always open. He has very fast breakaway speed and fits as a great number 2 in this offense because Anthony Miller is now gone. In Houston, he is the cemented in wide receiver 2 behind Allen Robinson. Now, there is a lot of talk, I will warn you, about Justin Fields not being the guy this season, about potentially sitting him down and doing what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith, where Alex Smith is given the reins for that year. Here they drafted Pat Mahomes, and then after that, you get fucking kicked to the curb, and then it's Pat Mahomes season. Could we see that in Chicago? Maybe. I doubt it, though. I do doubt it, even though that's kind of the rumor going around town. I don't know if I believe that, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman. Now, this is a fun range. It was a fun range with Carson Wentz. Like, hey, maybe T.Y. Hilton will do good. Maybe he'll return back to being T.Y. Hilton. Or maybe Michael Pittman, he had a bad rookie season, but maybe he needed that non-COVID offseason. He's going to ball out in 2021. Or maybe Paris Campbell from last year played pretty well. I think he's going to do better this year. Like, Paris Campbell, I think he was the guy who got hurt last year, right? Yeah, he played in one game, balled out. And, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was talking about Paris Campbell or Zach Pascal who got hurt, but it was Paris Campbell. I apologize for that. But Paris Campbell, he balled out in that one game. What could we see out of a full season with Carson Wentz? And now, with Jacob Eason under center, you got to fucking back it up. Back that one up and really retract these statements because I'm very nervous. If Jacob Eason is the starter again, they could bring in Gardner Minshew. They could bring in Nick Foles, and things could change. But right now, that's a little bit nerve-wracking in my opinion. So looking at the board here, we're in the 11th round, and a lot of quarterbacks have came off the board. We're kind of past the range of the Matthew Stafford, the Joe Burrow, the Ryan Tannehill, where I feel super comfortable with a quarterback. So maybe if I draft one of these guys, I'm going to end up drafting 2 quarterbacks because when I don't feel ultra safe with the quarterback, I'll draft 2. But typically, when I'm locked and loaded, I have a Matt Stafford, I have a Tannehill, I have a Joe Burrow, then I'm just not wasting another pick on a backup quarterback because when are they ever going to play unless the quarterback's on a bye? Never. So the question here is, do we want Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa? Now, I believe that Trevor Lawrence is going to outscore Tua. I believe Tua is a must-draft quarterback as well, but he goes a lot later in the drafts typically than Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence has a chance to put up some huge numbers this year. The wide receiver core in Jacksonville is very solid with Marvin Jones, DJ Chark, and Laviska Shenault, Travis Etienne there as well. While I don't expect him to be super amazing for fantasy football, he is a good option for Trevor Lawrence. Shout out to the boy Tim Tebow there as well. I think this is an offense that's going to be great with a shit-tier defense, which bodes well for the quarterback. Shout out to Blake Bortles from a couple of years ago. For the Jaguars, I'm going to draft Trevor Lawrence here inside of the 12th round. I also don't mind drafting Matt Ryan. Seems like a lot of people are off of Matt Ryan, but I'm perfectly fine drafting him here. But we're not drafting 2 quarterbacks back-to-back. Michael Jordan, 96, 97 at this point. We're going to dive back down and draft another running back. Another guy that is just getting criminally underdrafted on this fucking website is Gus Bus Edwards, running back of the Baltimore Ravens. While I am a J.K. Dobbins truther, a J.K. Dobbins stan, a guy who will stand on top of the mountaintops and scream for the upside of J.K. Dobbins. This is a very run-heavy team. Lamar Jackson is going to vulture touchdowns, sure. It is what it is. Dobbins is going to do his work. But if Dobbins was to go down, Gus Edwards potentially is in a top 12 role. And if not, with how much this team runs the ball, Gus Edwards will have a bunch of good weeks this season where you could have started him as your running back 2 or as your flex, where maybe J.K. Dobbins has a little worse of a game, or they're just running the ball so effectively down the defense's throat, they're just jamming the ball down there, that Gus Edwards has a really good game. The one thing that sucks about ESPN mock drafts right now is that people just dip out after like the 10th round. So I know we've kind of been zooming through rounds, probably 10 plus at this point. So I hope you guys have been ending up enjoying this video thus far. So we are back up on the board here. The running backs, this is the true dead zone. So I'm glad we have a bunch of running backs on our roster. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs. 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. So a good rule of thumb is to have more running backs than wide receivers because it's easy to find a wide receiver off the waiver wire that you can start week in and week out. But at running back, it is very difficult. So you got to make sure that you stack those guys up. We're going to go wide receiver here and go with Russell Gage now. He is a not so popular pick. A lot of people don't like him for some reason, whereas I believe he's the true wide receiver 2 in Atlanta. Sure, he's not going to be Julio fucking Jones, right? But he's still going to be good. So I don't know. I mean, he put up some pretty solid numbers last year when Julio Jones was gone. So I do like the upside there. We're going to draft one more running back before we head out of here. And we're going to go ahead and draft a running back that I don't even like all that much. But if I'm being honest with you, if he actually stays healthy, he could be involved. I believe in the Chris Carson train. I'm all aboard. Choo-choo. But Rashad Penny, I don't think he's much of a factor because he always gets hurt. But if he doesn't get hurt, then he could actually be really good in Seattle because Seattle just loves to run the football. So now we're in rounds 15 and 16 where we need a kicker and a defense. I will always stand here, or sit here, I guess, because I'm in a chair, and advise you to draft a defense later on in the draft that is playing a shitty offense week 1. I have not done that research yet, but that will be done eventually. So you draft that defense. They play good against the offense week 1, and then the next week you stream the defense. You switch defenses. It's all fine and dandy. That's what I'm going to try to get you guys to do. Every single week, switch your defense. With kicker, I am more solidified of just staying with the one kicker unless your kicker sucks, and then you just start just fucking cycling them on in and out. But at this point, I'm fine taking a kicker before defense unless I really have that high upside defense in mind. But right now, where we're sitting in early August, I just frankly do not have that in my head just yet. So again, there's not too much to break down here. I'm just taking a kicker, my best kicker available in my head right now would be Tucker. I doubt he'll be there. We'll probably just take Young Ho Koo or maybe Jason Sanders. I like those guys as well. And then defense, we're just going to take a random defense, but I hope you put that in your brain that you want to draft a defense playing a not so hot offense week 1 to get those extra points. We're going to go with Justin Tucker. But in a lot of leagues, people draft a kicker in like the 8th round, and then you just end up drafting some shit tier kicker later, and you just end up substituting them in and out every single week. And then we're going to go with that defense. Obviously, like I said, don't have one in mind just yet, but in a couple of weeks, I will be giving you guys the defenses that I want you to be targeting because of their week 1 opponent. We're going to go ahead and draft the Dolphins here. Don't even know who they're playing week 1, and I'm a fan of the Dolphins, so that is, I guess, kind of embarrassing. So looking over on the left side of the screen, because for some reason, ESPN fails to have like a big screen right here in the middle where you can actually look at your team, which basically every other website has. So I don't really understand that. So our team here on the left, as you can see, is our starting quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. Our running backs are Antonio Gibson and Darrell Henderson. Our wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase. Our tight end is Travis Kelce. Our flex is Mike Davis, and our defense is the Dolphins defense. Our kicker is Justin Tucker. Our bench is comprised of Damian Harris, Devontae Smith, Ronald Jones II, Darnell Here Comes the Mooney, Gus Bus Edwards, Russell Gage, and Rashad Penny. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. If you did end up enjoying today's video, make sure to turn the notification bell on as well. Follow the Awesemo Odds channel as well as the DFS channel for Awesemo. You guys are going to enjoy all the content we put out on there. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you did end up enjoying. As always, make sure you stay safe. I'll see you guys tomorrow on a live stream at 1:55 or 2 Eastern Standard Time with Lofty. You're going to have a great time tomorrow. Love you guys. Stay safe as always. Good boy.